Hi, and welcome back to Dirty Bernie's Garage. Today what we got going on here, we have a 2012 Troy Bilt TB240 with the Honda GVC 160 engine on it. And it's kind of a sad deal here. This mower belongs to my next door neighbor over there. I actually featured this in a video before, but anyway. So last year I had another TB240 come in with a rotted deck and everything. I held it off to the side because it had better front tires than her mower actually had. So the other day, I went ahead and I told her, let me see the mower for a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the tires on it for you. I'm gonna sharpen the blade while it's over here and everything, which I did. So I did that, gave it back to her and everything, and a little while later, I hear her out there mowing, and this thing sounded absolutely terrible. Just, it spit and sputter and popping and all that nonsense. So basically what happened, I'm trying to do something nice for somebody and it kind of come back and bit me. I had the mower tipped up on its side to get the blade off and everything, and somehow I dislodged some dirt in the carburetor or something. So I think what we got going on here is an emulsion tube, or maybe jet or something. Something's plugged up in it. But I went over to her and I apologized and I said, look, I will take care of this problem. I said, I promised her this mower's going to run like the day she bought it when I'm done with this carburetor, and I'm going to make sure that promise holds. So we're going to take care of that. But I wanted to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber, actually fellow-at YouTuber, the lawnmower lady. If you haven't checked out her channel, I highly suggest you do so, especially if you like to work on Hondas. Now, I personally, this is the only style Honda I've ever dealt with, but I'll tell you what, if I was ever to do another Honda style engine, that would be the first stop for me, because this woman is an absolute genius when it comes to Honda engines. It's the best Honda content on YouTube as far as I'm concerned. She does other stuff too, excellent videos as well. But anyway, in the next clip, I'm going to go ahead and show you a trick she taught me to this job here that I got to do that is going to make your life so much easier, and it's awesome. So anyway, give me a few here and we're going to go ahead and get this thing into the garage up on a stand, and we're going to get this carburetor off and we're going to get it cleaned and get my neighbor up and running again. So I'll be right back. All right, let's go ahead and get started on this old Honda and get this thing apart real quick. Just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and pull the pull starter and the tank set up off of it. Oh, great. Two of the studs came out with it. Oh, well. That one's not out all the way. That's all right. We can fix that part out. All right. Go ahead and pop our air filter cover off of there. Oh, we're going to be ready for a new filter here. I'm going to have to remind her about that. I'll send her an Amazon link. All right. So, the tip I'm going to show you, if you've never dealt with one of these GVC 160s, the carburetors on these things are a pain. Simply because your two bolts, they're actually through bolts rather than studs. So you got your box here, the carburetor, you got another gasket, there's a little piece that runs the auto choke, there's another gasket, I think there's a little heat plate back there, and there's like 5 or 6 things behind the carburetor. And once you pull these two bolts, what happens is the whole mess just falls. So putting it back together, then you have to line your linkage up and everything, and you basically got to sandwich this whole thing back together and then try and get one of the bolts started and everything without dropping any gaskets or anything. And the job is a lot easier if you have 3 hands, which obviously we don't. But I'm going to show you a little trick the lawnmower lady supplied, and this is going to make life so much easier on this job. So basically, we're actually going to we're gonna supply our own studs for this job. Now, this is a M6 would be the size of these bolts, and obviously it's a metric thread and everything. She said in her video you can actually, you can go buy it, you're gonna get it like a 4-inch piece per side, and that'll do what this thing needs to do. And actually on hers, she actually cuts slots in them and she screws them in with a screwdriver. But these ones here, this is off an old Power Mower that I took apart, which happens to be the same thread. So what we're gonna do here, alright, hold on one second. Alright guys, I'm sorry for the interruption. We got sidetracked a little bit. Let's go ahead and get going on this carburetor. As I had said, you got your through bolts and everything, and it just falls apart. And we're gonna have a couple studs going in there for this one. But basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and take one of the bolts out, like so. I don't like to zap these ones with an impact just because it's going into an aluminum block. So we're gonna go ahead and take one of them out. That out of there. Take one of the studs, we're gonna screw that in place. Like I said, the lawnmower lady actually has a setup with a, she actually ground a little slot in it with a Dremel, which, would definitely be a better idea. But I got these things in, but, I can get this thing by a few threads, and I think that's going to hold it no problem. So we got the one bolt out. Now what we're going to do, we're going to do the second bolt, but we're going to actually hold the carburetor down while we take this bolt out and put the stud in it. That way it's not going to go anywhere. So hopefully this actually will work. Do that. Yeah, I might have put the wrong end of the stud in, of course. I mean, why else would it be any different? Come on, you. What is that thing? Really? Finally. There we go. Yeah, that was my first little blunder on this job, but that's all right. We got it. It's fine. Now I can understand why she does the slots in it. So I will be picking up some cut-off wheels for the Dremel, and we'll go ahead and get that out of there. So go ahead and pull your little breather out of there, and your plates out of there. Oh wow, look at this. Yeah, this carburetor has not been serviced. This is actually a I gotta check into this to make sure with her. This is a 14-year-old lawnmower, and I don't believe this thing's ever been serviced. So if that's the case, this is a hell of a run for this thing. Because, I mean, I obviously, as anybody else, 90% of the work is carburetor issues with mowers. I mean, I'm having mowers coming in here 2 or 3 years old with this issue. So for 14, yeah, I could deal with this. So now with our studs in there, all right, I'm gonna sit right. Yeah, it should be all right. So now with our studs, we can go ahead and get this carburetor out of here. Now I got the fuel thing off of there. The fuel shut off, set up on a thing. And excuse me, this is my first time doing this way, so you know it's not gonna run perfect, but that's all right. I can already see this is a far better setup than playing with all those stupid bolts. I know that for a fact. All right, so we got a gasket here. It's gonna have to go back on. You got your little hole up in the top, which is gonna line up there. Try and get this fuel line out of here without making a huge mess. So that should do that. And that's it. It's actually gonna move. Good deal. All right. Got a little bit of gas spillage. I'm not really overly concerned with that at the moment. I'll put a rag down anyway. We're gonna go ahead and pull the carburetor off of the studs. You got your little surge spring here. You can undo that. And your linkage. Like that. And we have a carburetor off of a Honda. Now, as I said, you have your, this is your deal here, which runs the automatic choke. This is your gasket. There's a couple other gaskets behind there. All that stuff has to be lined up in order, you know, for this deal to go back together. So these studs just made my life much easier. This is the easiest job I've ever done with this one. So I'm very thankful for the lawnmower lady for this tip. And there's some other stuff I'm going to show you while doing the carburetor afterwards. Right now, what I got to do with this mower, since I went this far with it, I'm going to go ahead and take this thing outside. I'm going to give it a bath. We're going to clean the underside of it up a little better because it was pretty nasty under there the other day when I was doing a blade. And then the next clip, we'll go ahead and get that carburetor done. And actually, I'm going to change the oil too. I went and bought oil earlier. So anyway, we will be back very shortly. And we'll get going on this carburetor. And we're going to figure out what's wrong with it and make it happen. All right, guys. Before we get into this this next clip, we're going to go ahead and go over this carburetor a little bit. Just wanted to show you a couple things. So we got, as I said, this is, to the best of my knowledge, this is a 14-year deal that's never been touched and everything. But one thing I wanted to point out is your choke plate. Look at all that dirt built up on there. So what went on with this mower, I worked on this mower last year, and here's your air filter. You notice some of the pleats are bent on it. What happened with this thing was that the air filter was actually installed backwards when I first worked on this mower, and I believe that's where part of our issue comes from. Actually, it was actually funny. The blade on that mower was upside down too, but this air filter should sit on like so, which I did replace it afterwards. But anyway, so I think that's where, I think we got dirt going in the emulsion tube. We have, kind of hard to see right where my finger is, a little hole there. That's what feeding your emulsion tube. And I think that's what we've been sucking dirt in there, and unfortunately I was the one to disturb it. So, but let me go ahead and pop this float bowl real quick. And I'm just curious what it looks like, because last year I pulled the float bowl on this carburetor, and it has been the cleanest carburetor I think I've ever seen. So, go ahead and check this out real quick. Yeah, there we go. That's a 14-year-old float bowl right there. I'll tell you right now, go ahead and get one cleaner than that. So, here's the innards of the carburetor. It's like a brand new carb. Brand new. This woman takes care of this thing. So, you know, like I said, it was partially my fault for tipping the thing. And whoever put that air filter on upside down, that was a different story and everything. But anyway, in the next clip, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take this thing apart, we're gonna get that emulsion tube out of there, and we're gonna clean it, and we're gonna have a brand new run on the lawnmower again. So we'll be right back. Alright guys, so we got this carburetor all cleaned up. I just took it outside and gave it a good bath and everything. Time to tear this thing apart. We got to get in here and get the jet out of it and the emulsion tube and all that. Another area, anybody that's not aware, you see a Phillips screw right here? That's your idle circuit. When the screw comes out, there's a circuit that goes down. That circuit, I mean, technically this mower doesn't idle, but if that circuit's plugged, that's another thing that'll cause a surge too. So you always want to do that when you're doing these. But go ahead. But I also want to give another special thank you to the lawnmower lady, because I didn't realize about that idle circuit, nor did I, you know, I know what a jet and an emulsion tube is, obviously. I did not realize that the emulsion tube actually comes out of this carburetor. So that'll definitely make life much easier. So what you want to do, you get a flathead screwdriver, you want to get in here and get a hold of your jet, and oh, look at that, come right out. Instead of the ones that are normally, you know, stuck in there. This thing just screwed right out without a hitch. There it goes. All right, we got one jet out. Clean that in a little bit. Then we're gonna go ahead, the emulsion tube sticks up a little bit, so you just gotta give it a pry. There it goes. And there it is. Now, let me see what we got. I can't see it all that good, but I would be willing to bet that we got some plugged up holes in this thing. But we'll check that in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that idle circuit. Let's see what we got. And the sad part is I could have cleaned some of the dirt out of this thing when I was washing it, so we'll have to. But what we're gonna do on this one, put a paper towel down. I'm gonna spray some of these passages and just see if any dirt or something like that comes out of them. Yep, there we go, we got some. Aha. I think that might be part of our problem right here. This idle circuit is plugged up. Normally when you're spraying it, it's going to be running down the bottom of the carburetor, and in this case it's not, I don't believe. So I'm gonna have to poke that thing with some poke it with a wire and some air. But yeah, look at that, that's just coming out of the internals of the carburetor. And that, I mean, it doesn't look like a lot of dirt, but It doesn't take a whole lot to plug one of these things up. So give me a couple minutes here. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this stuff up and we'll zap this thing back together and we should be good. Basically what I'm gonna do, those passages I just showed you, now I'm gonna go ahead and hit them with a little bit of compressed air. I'm gonna clean up that emulsion tube and the jet and everything, and I think we'll be good to go. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I think we got this problem under control finally. So as I said, I went ahead and went through these passages with compressed air, carburetor cleaner and all that. Look at this carburetor. Just look at this thing. 14 years old, really? This is out of control. I'm still amazed by this. I'm sorry. I'm sure most people don't get amazed by a carburetor, but, you know, I mean, like I said, I just did one the other day, a 2020 Craftsman, and the carburetor was ready to fall apart. And here comes this thing in 2014 looking like this. But so I went ahead and put the screw back in there for the idle circuit. We got our emulsion tube. She's cleaned right up. All holes poked through and everything. What a lot of times what I do on these, what I'll do is, you know, I'm going to hit it with carburetor cleaner and then compressed air. But I kind of like back flush it. You know, I'm going to spray it then the way, other than the way it would normally, you know, be sucking air, you know, to try and blow things out, which I don't think we're going to have an issue with this one. But, so I went ahead and did that. I went ahead and dropped that down in there. And it did drop right down into place. Got our jet. Equally is cleaned out. And then we're going to put that back in. Alright. There we go. A little bit of a snug on there, and that thing's good to go. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and put our floating needle back in there. So, can I get this the first time without messing up? Nope. Of course I can't. Because we're on film. If I was not on film, this wouldn't be an issue, but since I'm doing this here, you know how it is. Alright. Maybe second time's a charm, hopefully. Yeah, we go. Now we got it. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get this the pin back in there, like so. And I'd say we got a working float bowl, float rather. And as I said, this bowl is spotless. There's no point in even messing with it. Don't have an issue with that. Even the bottom of the bolt, look at that. Look at how clean that is. This is just, wow. Tighten that down just a tad. Snug it down. And we have a complete carburetor. I believe this carburetor is going to run like $1 million bucks. Also, since I was here, I went ahead and pulled the fuel filter out. You know, this one's got the one up in the line. Another one, this is, I back flush these. I stick the wand of the carburetor cleaner in a hole here and spray it, and that way it blows all the stuff out of the screen that's been sucking into the screen. So I think we're good there. But, and I'd mentioned earlier in the video I'd be cleaning this thing up, so I did yesterday. I took this thing out, gave her a good bath, got everything cleaned up and everything. Went up through the underneath of the mower. I did drain the oil. We're doing an oil change on it and everything. So I think by the end of the day, we're gonna have a really good running mower here. Sadly, one thing I did find on this mower, the deck is starting to split, and I hate to see that, but I got a plan for that, and we're gonna be. It could turn out to be a very good future video, but we'll work on that later. But anyway, for the time being, let me go ahead and zap this thing back together, and I'm gonna see you guys out in the driveway. We'll fire this thing off and see how she runs. So we'll be back shortly. All right, guys, before we get started on the will it run on this mower, I just wanted to show you the issue with this thing. The mower is in great shape and everything, but age has taken it, unfortunately. You notice right here, we got a crack going up. I personally call this a death crack because it's gonna eventually take the whole deck out. There's another one up on the upper side and everything too, but you know, that's just something that can't be helped. I mean, that's just age, whatever. But let's go ahead and I'm gonna put you up on the thing. I think this mower's gonna run good. So with that being said, just this whole deal with getting old, starting to get old. But let's go ahead. Yeah, that should do it. But yeah, here we got our 2012 Troy Bilt with my rebuilt carburetor and all that. Gas is on. See if she'll fire up for us. I could work with that. I think that's going to be much better for her. So hopefully this video taught you something, or you enjoyed it or whatever. Anyway, again, a special thanks to the lawnmower lady. I'm hoping to convince my neighbor to put a new deck under this mower, and we'll make another video of that one. But anyway, for the time being, I thank you all for watching, and you have a great day.